It was a crazy weekend with everything going on with the TikTok ban, and it reminded me of a story that I wanted to share with you. I believe that it was from The Zen and Martial Arts by Joe Hyams, I believe. Might have to fact check me on that one. It's been a long time since I remembered this story. However, as the app came back on, it was Adam. You're all familiar. If you follow me, you're probably in the same circle to follow Adam. He had messaged me and said the app was back on, and I was excited to see it. And I wanted to go post right away. And I was immediately reminded of this story. And of course, it's about an old Zen master. Karate instructors, right? It's about an old Zen master and the practicing of his own self-control. If we can learn from these things vicariously, I believe, not only can they be applied to our real lives, but they can be very useful in our own lives, and especially this one and this genre and type of lesson. So, the old Zen master was at his home, and he had a friend come over to sit with him for dinner. And as dinner was being served and they were conversing, the letters and mail of the day had arrived, and they had been brought into him and handed to him, and he took them, looked at them, and on top he saw a letter from an old student, an old friend, and he said, "Oh wow, I haven't heard from this person for a very long time. It would be great to hear from them." And then he sets it down beside him and turns back to his friend and said, "Excuse me, as you were saying." And his friend, over for dinner, stops and waits a moment and says, "Aren't you going to open it and read it?" And the Zen master says, yes, I will, when we're through with dinner and the time is right." And so the friend just says, okay, and they keep talking, and they go through a few courses. They have their sake for the evening. And as the evening's winding up and the friend is getting ready to go, and he looked at the Zen master and said, "You're going to read your letter now, or are you going to wait until I'm gone?" And the Zen master says, "Oh, I will read it. It just wasn't the right time." And his friend looked at him and said, "Was it because I'm here?" And the Zen master shook his head and said, No, I wouldn't have a problem sharing the letter with you. It's just about my own self-control." And he goes on to explain, I wanted to open the letter right away. I wanted to have the correspondence and hear how my dear friend and former student is doing, and I was very excited about it. But I also knew to practice my own self-control, I must push this down and wait until I no longer have that excitement. And his friend looks at him and he's just baffled. "Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just open it right away?" He said, "It's been so long since you've heard from him." And the master says, "That is how I practice my self-control. I don't give in to the immediate want and desire. I wait until the time is appropriate, out of respect for you, having our meal and sharing our conversation, and out of my own self-control to wait until the time was right, when I no longer have that sense of urgency. Because in practicing this, my own self-control, my own self-discipline, I make myself better. I make myself more patient. I make myself more resilient." And so his friend thanks him for the evening and the food and the sake and leaves. And the master still doesn't open the letter. He spends some time with the family and his significant other, and as the evening is winding to a close, right before he's going to bed, He then opens the letter and waited until he felt that it was not something that was eager within himself, that it wasn't something that he just wanted to rush to do. This entire thing is very much so paraphrased. I believe it's from the Zen and martial arts, but there's been quite a few Zen books, so I could be wrong about that. But the whole point and the whole premise, of course, especially as it applies to today's culture, we live in a time of instant gratification. We live in a time of seeking immediate pleasure and postponing any type of pain or hard thing to do. And I believe it is these lessons that really need to be shared. Because in the drive-through world where you can have everything right now, when any question arises and you can simply go to your phone or computer and the internet and find an answer, when you don't have to actually put much in to any type of result, it doesn't mean as much as it would if you had to wait. If we practice these things with our own self-control, instead of postponing pain or hard things to do, and instead of rushing to pleasure, if we could switch those two around, immediately pursuing the hard thing, tackling the difficult thing to do, and postponing the pleasure so that it means more later, well, we would certainly be living in a different type of world. And I can tell you, I very much so wanted to post on TikTok immediately. But I immediately thought of this lesson and I thought, I wonder, if I waited a couple of days, would it help me practice my self-control? And it indeed did, because Sunday I wanted to post. And then Monday, I really wanted to post. And I woke up today and I thought, well, I could post today or I could post tomorrow. And that's when I knew. I knew, okay, that sense of urgency isn't there. I can post now. And I remembered this lesson and wanted to share it with you. If you go look up this story, I'm sure it will be phrased much differently, but with the same moral, as all of that was from memory from quite some time ago. But I love sharing these lessons and these stories with everyone, especially anything that can help make us better.